So I know that some people wait for people to come on, but I'm not there yet. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm here with Gila, and as you can see, and Ani will be joining us in just a few minutes. We are the Geula Doulas, and we're
Hi
giving
guys.
our sometimes weekly update. And I'm going to actually ask Gila to start things off in a second, but I just want to preface by saying that it's so important. I know that Gila and I know we're all in agreement on this, and probably everyone here is that it is imperative to be in both dimensions as we process everything that's happening to us. We have to be in the physical world, which includes the politics. I mean, even though I'm prone to ignoring them as much as I can now for my own sanity, but we have to be real. We have to be real with our bodies, with our relationships, with the physical world, with money, with everything that's going on, with making wise decisions and being somewhat aware of what's happening, at least so that we can be part of the solution. And at the same time, if we don't connect it with God, and we don't connect it with prophecy, and we don't connect it with the ongoing redemption, which is what we're meriting to live through and be co-creative partners in right now, then not only is it missing its major piece, but I think my theory, you can weigh in on this, Gila, but actually it's a strong belief that God needs to be the major part of this picture in people's consciousness. And until that happens, events will occur that will push us toward that. So I think part of what we all aim for in these discussions is to connect those two worlds, and to bring the light to the darkness, and the truth to the falsehood, and the God to the apparently random events that are happening. And yeah, so Gila, with that's just my little preface. But how about Trump ET's disclosure? Like, I know you were talking about RFK. What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind
Um,
right
no, that's what really initially, Shifra, drew me to Q. Because I was like, here we have a military plan and they're talking about God. They include God almost every time in every post.
now? Yeah, true.
They give all the glory and they
Biblical.
get it. What?
It's got to be biblical.
Hold on, let me just shut my phone.
At
Say
first,
that
I
one.
used to wonder. The Q says often it's going to be biblical.
Oh, biblical. Yeah.
At
Biblical
first, I
on
wondered what
steroids.
that
That's
meant.
what?
At first, I wondered what that meant. I thought it just meant it's going to be like, we're so big. It's going to be like now. Now years down the line, it's obvious that they understood more about the process that we're in than I originally assumed.
Well, for me, it's awakening to the fact that this is a whole world event. This is not a Jewish event. This is a humanity event. Mashiach is a humanity event.
Probably
And
beyond humanity.
yeah, it's galactic. It's a galactic event. From what I've read and heard from other people, all eyes are on us right now, right? And I don't know if I ever spoke to you about this concept, but there's something called an Evan Hashasiya. Do you know what that is?
Yes, but I don't think we ever. I know we didn't talk about it, but I'm very yeah.
Okay, so I think it's all centering around this foundational stone,
So
right?
explain it to people. A lot of people might not know about it. Explain the
Okay,
Evan?
you probably know more than me, so you can help me out with this. But it's the way I see it is I pieced together little things, and it just clicked inside my head one day that God's presence, God started creation from this from this foundation stone or watering stone, and that's where the binding of Isaac took place, and that's where the giving. Right? What else took place there? Can you help me out with that? What happened there?
I don't. I just know the binding of Isaac. I don't know what we could look it up, but the world
Yeah,
was
you
created
can look
from
it
there
up.
in the binding of Isaac. Yeah, just in case people don't know, it's a very large stone in the. It's covered now by the dome of the rock. That's the rock that the dome is covering. And actually, once
Right.
years ago, many decades ago, before I was well, not that many decades, but before I was Torah observant, I didn't know, and I went up there and I actually put my hand on it, which you're totally not allowed to do.
How did it feel?
I didn't know I didn't.
You weren't.
I
Yeah.
wasn't tuned in. It was like this warm, big, kind of roundish rock, but yeah, it's the center of the universe. Go ahead. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom. Tom's the best.
Notification bell not going off.
So I didn't. I thought the dome. I thought the rock was buried deep, and no one could actually touch it. Maybe you touched above it.
As far as I know, that's the real rock, but maybe
Okay.
not. That's maybe not.
Okay. So back to what I understood is that all the universes are wanting to experience God more intimately, more closely, wanting more of God to reveal himself to them as we do to us. But we're in the most separation from God on this planet, on this 3D earth. So it is incumbent upon us, from this place of the vast amount of free will that we have, the most amount, more than the other galaxies. It is, hi, Ani.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
I'm just explaining about the Evan Hashasiya, the foundation stone, how I view it now, that it is upon us, the beings with the most free will, to invite God from this place of free will. And when we invite him down for us, we invite him down for them up there. And they get to experience a fuller reveal of God as we do. And I read this and there's a book, gosh, I forget his name all the time, but he says from the Evan Hashasiya comes Mayim Chaim. And Mayim Chaim is the macrocosm to internal DMT. And Mayim Chaim is when
Joel Baxt.
Thank you for knowing that.
Yeah.
Your brain is like a steel trap, Shifra. Do you know that?
No, it's really not. But I have my brain is like glue. My brain is glued.
It's like glue. You don't forget. It sticks.
No, I don't forget I do forget a lot of things, but I don't forget what fills in a missing piece for me.
Joel Baxt is I'm sad that he's not with us right now.
He's amazing books.
Yes.
He's controversial, but his information is whoa.
Well, we need controversial, right? Come on. Are we not controversial?
I don't think we're that controversial. Are we controversial? Maybe.
We shouldn't be. It's just reality. That's the thing. All the stuff that's controversial, it shouldn't be because it's just reality.
It's just reality. And Shifra says the F word a lot, so she's controversial just because of that.
I never say that. What are you talking about? Gila.
I mean Ani. I meant Ani. Sorry. No, you don't. I only heard it once from you.
I just want to, I never say it in front of my kids, okay? My kids don't swear. My kids talk nicely, thank God, okay?
You got to hold it in front of them.
I'm here. Lincoln chat doesn't get here. Bell not going off. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Well, hopefully everybody will get. Most people listen to the replay anyway so far. But on that note, you guys, please like, subscribe, share. Let's get a little more action here. Okay. So Gila, you are talking about the Evan Hashasiya, the stone. First of all, we already had a controversy over whether, we're not sure whether it's the stone that I actually touched before I knew better under the Dome of the Rock.
Wow.
Or if it's hidden deep beneath the earth. And I do think it's that stone, but who knows, who knows if there are different opinions. And it's also the shtia or shasiya means that it's giving water. So as Joel Baxt said, are you looking it up now, Gila?
I'm sharing us to my Telegram channel.
Okay. Rabbi Baxt explains that water is, first of all, he compares it to the pineal gland. And that it's which is like the tuning, I guess, the tuning or receiver, whatever, how you describe that, from heaven into the mind.
Can I tell you also, I think this is where Jacob rested his head. Jacob rested his head at night.
Oh, I think you're right.
Oh, wow.
And that was in the place called Peniel.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yes. Which means
I'm getting chills. Anybody else still?
It's the face of
God.
I
got you. I just got chills.
Yeah, what the word means, face of God. So we have that inside of ourselves, but this actual stone that is like the cornerstone of the world, of the physical world, and also like the pineal gland connecting heaven to earth. So the prophecies say that water will come forth from it, first in the trickles, and then it will come into a stronger and stronger stream, and it will join all the waters of the earth and purify everything. So it's the ultimate purification, the ultimate mikvah. And you probably were going to say that people have seen that used to be just a prophecy. You could just believe in it or not. But for the last many years, I don't know what the status is now, but it started watering years ago already. And water was dripping. There's a place when you go when you're facing the Western Wall, you go into the tunnels on the left. After a little while, you get to I don't know what they call it, but it's a little area prayer in a cave, in a tunnel. Where it's the closest place you can get to the Holy of Holies, to the Kodesh Kodashim, without going up. We're not allowed to go there anyway at this point because we're all in a state of ritual impurity. But water started to drip from there quite a while ago.
I love that. And the consciousness, it corresponds to the consciousness on the planet awakening. Do you know that? That water is an awakener. It's more godly consciousness on the planet. So it makes perfect sense.
Like the pineal gland. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And consciousness.
Well, it's like what the Rambam says about this time, that knowledge of God, das experiential knowledge and connection of God will, cover the earth like water in the seabed.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the God consciousness. Yeah.
Right. And if you think about it, consciousness actually, to purify waters, we compare consciousness to water. Any kind of consciousness is some kind of water. Dirty water, actually, Shar Yichud, now that I think about it, uses this as one of the mashalim, one of the core analogies of how consciousness works, that it's like digging a well. So when you dig a well, you hit water, but if you dig shallowly, the water will come up with a very weak force and it'll be all full of dirt and impurity, meaning like consciousness that's distorted, where people can't tell the difference. Aren't we experiencing that between what's true and not true? And, it's all in the same flow, but the deeper you dig, which means the more garbage you get out of yourself, the more illusions, the more, biases, the more hypnosis, the more traumas, the more all of it, agendas, the deeper you'll hit the water, which also corresponds to it's called the koach hamaskil, the source of the intellect that is receiving from above and connecting to our human consciousness. Right. And it's really interesting. So the purer the consciousness, the purer, the more the water of global consciousness, and I guess, universal, multiversal consciousness will be purified. And truth, and point everybody. And this is like it's so interesting because Gila, you've been fighting, we all in our own way, but you've been so openly and publicly fighting against lies about the Jewish people, all kinds of lies. So interesting, because that purification of consciousness, all the truth is mixed up with falsehood, but it makes sense now in this. It's so interesting that you brought that up, the Evan Shasina, because it makes so much sense in the context of the water is not yet pure. We haven't hit the depths.
Right.
So but it's coming forth with all kinds of BS, right? At the same time.
We have to filter. We're a filtration system. Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear that.
We're part of the filtration system. That's why Orthodox presence in the truther movement is so important, because they have to see that we are not the Satanists that they're talking about, that is not us, that the Jewish religion is a beautiful, and we really take a beating in the truther community. I did not see that coming. I didn't see that coming. I thought the same people who uncovered the secret societies, they would be the ones to say, oh, it's not the Jews doing this stuff. It's those people pretending to be the Jews, but they're not. A lot of the groups are still saying Jews. And that's a big hang up of mine. I guess Hashem is still having us, go through this test of having to identify who we are among
to fiercely align with our truth.
Right.
That's what it brings us to do, to fiercely and staunchly with Taikef, which is authority and validity. And this is my word for the summer.
Okay.
Yeah. Align with who we really are fiercely.
100%. I'd say even more, it pushes us into digging, like to ask ourselves, who am I really? And what am I here to stand for? And then what is really true? Because a lot of us, we tend to be on the more open-minded, open-hearted end of the spectrum, our soul tribe. So it's very easy for us to just accept that, everybody means well, everybody's like coming from the right place. And to be able to discern that truth, that power, like Moses, like the Rebbe, like God. And all real leadership means discerning truth, and that means identifying falsehood. And it's an ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing. It's not always so blatant. Sometimes it's the nuances, like, oh, okay, this is true, this is not true, or I'm not sure.
Right.
And it was very hard for me, guys, because I believe that we're in the middle of a military operation. I believe that Q is real, but the people representing Q suddenly turned on me, and I was like, does that mean that isn't real? If they're not seeing the Jews through the right lens, does that mean that whole? But no, I think this is the unfolding. I think the Q plan is Hashem using the militaries of the globe. This is not just American military, all the militaries, and if that's how Mashiach became super real to me. This is the thought that came to me when, I woke up this morning. We still don't know the when, but we're beginning to see the how. We're beginning to see the how. We still don't know. Like, I think the EBS is going to be a huge part of the great reveal of Hashem on the planet. I think when Hashem is going to use cell phones, I always felt that way about the cell phones. How do we each have one in our hand? In the past 10 years, we went from, I didn't have a cell phone when I was in school. How did I live? I don't know. But it was like, we each have one in our hand. There's no way that the great reveal isn't happening through technology, through the military. And that's why it makes me sad when I see the majority of the Jewish world aren't really seeing in the detail that we're seeing with this Q plan. That's how I see it, at least. I feel like Mashiach will come and it'll be great for them, but they didn't get to see the entire buildup, in the detail that at least you and I are getting to see.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, what's happening right now, especially with the level of discernment that is needed, is like we're learning how to process reality, going from like this pixelated, like 8-pixel version of like seeing reality into like 5 trillion megapixels. And so part of it's so challenging to us intellectually and emotionally to make this discernment. This is the upgrade process of actually being able to process with way more subtlety and nuance, and process physical and intellectual and emotional and spiritual data all at once, and not have like our circuits blown, essentially. And so, even the people who may intellectually not be aware of like what's going on, boots on the ground in the world, everybody's going to have to make these upgrades. The whole point of this is to be able to process in multi-dimensional, like we go from, like the 8-pixel, like Apple computers from the 80s, into like each of us coming online as a quantum computer, essentially a quantum operating system.
Some people
with the operator in the driver's seats from within.
Yeah. So I've heard from Tori that Q is a quantum computer, but Tori says a lot of things that are partly true. She's a poker. So I
think both of those things, Shifra. I think it might be a quantum computer, but also people translating the quantum computer into reality.
Right. Yeah, there have to be people involved. And I just wanted to say a couple things to what you said, Gila. Number one, the people that it could be that the people who are literally on the Q team are also anti-Semitic, or I don't even like to use that term, have deep misunderstanding at least about Jews. Some of them might have, maybe some of them don't. Like the people that I've trusted the most have been the most consistent. I haven't really seen it. But I think a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon over the last, what is it, said 6 years, 5-6 years, and have found themselves, like I know Tori's always talking about, somebody who used to sell smoothies behind the counter, and now he's like a global expert in geopolitical affairs, and makes a ton of money and has tons of followers. So there is people jumping. There's a huge parasitical, opportunistic
action
wave. Yeah. And I think that that's also attached. We know that that's attached itself to the Jewish people way back, the exodus from Egypt, this opportunistic, parasitical force that is part of God's plan, as crazy and hard as it is, that steals energy, light, and credibility and power from whoever the actual force is, in this case, let's say the Q team, and starts to just, I can't even tell you, I don't know if you listen to Tori says, I know that Ani does. She sounds like Q when she talks, like naturally. That's her natural sound, even though I never saw Q as the main Q writer as a female. But she says she says all the time that there's psyops from both sides, and disinformation is absolutely necessary. So I take everybody with the giant bucket of salt, and I'm kind of sick of the whole, usually I don't even want to listen. But it's really, really important to recognize. She keeps calling out all these people and saying that they've held back she doesn't say redemption, but they've held back the reveal or whatever. They've held us in this state for years because they misled people, and instead of training people to stand up and to be leaders and to be part of the solution and to discern the truth. So that I'm just saying, maybe some of the people that claim to be part of the white hats, anybody can claim anything. And many people are claiming all kinds of things that
it's true. It's true. Well, I found out that, Whiplash, who we followed, was like he's Iranian, he's Middle Eastern. So of course he's going to infuse that perspective. Not that all Iranians are bad, but like that Middle Eastern perspective. When he was saying, remember, Shifra, that they're going to repeal the Balfour Declaration.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's not part of the Q plan. That's his own personal desire. So that's an example of personal infiltration into the Q plan. Like the Q plan definitely does not include perpetuating the Middle East divide.
Right.
All.
And you can see that from the Abraham Accords and other things that Trump has done.
Right, exactly right.
Perfect or not, you can see if you know what you're looking at, you can see the genius in diffusing the entire situation, taking this battle out of the equation and turning it into commerce and proactive alliances. He's a genius. There's no question about it. Here's the other thing. I feel like, when we talk about tokef, this power, when we talk about discernment, it seems like I feel that there's so much trauma in the Jewish people. There isn't every person, but we've been, the perennial exiles for thousands of years. And our job now all of a sudden it's always been our job, but we haven't been able to do it without, being killed. But our job has always been to bring Torah and God consciousness to everyone. And life in exile has caused many of us to hunker down and feel beleaguered, and it's valid in a way. It's valid. It's just plain valid, but it's not going to serve us. And also, as somebody pointed out in an article I just read, God is constantly calling us stiff-necked people. We're always rebelling and arguing and coming up with our own plans. So of course, we have issues getting along and uniting in a cause. But at least those of us who feel that this is our calling, what do we do about that? And I'm speaking to everybody. It's not just about listening to others, and it's not just about calling out lies, but it's about what is our job? What is it that we're bringing to the table, even without all of that, even though that pushes us back. I think that pushes us back into inquiry about what's missing. I think if we were out there blasting God and Geula, none of this would happen. This is the erva. This is the parasitical influence in the Jewish people themselves that has warped the beings. It's warped all of us.
That has continued to push we're in Doulas and we just have to be good boys and girls, and then Mashiach will drop down from a cloud and rescue us.
Something like
that. I really believe that. I still a little bit believe that.
No, maybe it will, but we're obviously here to be players. So what is our role? What is the specific role? And I think that in all of us, those of us who don't feel beleaguered and we're hiding out, we just want everyone to get along, right? We just want everyone to, we want to love each other. We're all brothers and sisters. And in a way, that's a very beautiful thing. It's a very holy thing. But in another sense, that keeps us blending in. And it's easier to blend in, but I don't think that's our job.
No, and that's really the concept of Gevura being the prime energy now in these days. The concept of Gevura is the concept of strength and like holding the line, essentially. And Gevura is a massive expression of love. I always say this: Chesed, the counterbalancing power of Gevura is Chesed, which is not love. It's kindness, and it's not kindness like, oh, you're so nice. What it actually is a movement toward something. Whereas Gevura is kind of like, I'm staunchly holding the line. Right. Chesed is like, oh, let me validate. Gevura is like, I'm going to hold the line of truth. Chesed and ahava and love are not the same thing. Every single one of these attributes are equally an expression of love. We have to stop conflating Chesed with love and Gevura with meanness. And my specialty is unpacking the subtleties of our subconscious and the way that we are actually seeing and relating to things. That's just part of the mission that God has given me. So many people don't realize that in the pixelated programs that are running, it's like Chesed is nice and Gevura is mean. They're all expressions of love. So we can stand with intense strength, and it's coming from a hisgabris, a strengthening of our feeling of love for people, to be like, this is so real and so high stakes that I am going to stand in my power, and I am going to put myself at risk to claim this, and I am not going to people please anymore, and I'm going to tell you what's what because I love you, and I'm willing to be uncomfortable, and I'm willing to show up and put my energy on the line to tell you how it is because I love you so much.
And I think that's awesome and imperative. I also think there's something even beyond that. Like if we didn't have to hold the line, or if we didn't stop at holding the line, Like if we were proactively standing up every morning and saying, what is the light and power that I'm here to share with the world, bring into my life, bring out that, like, what does it mean to be a light to the nations? Because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, that's the icker. That's the icker. Like this, what I'm talking about is like more in a public sense, like how we're showing up publicly. But like, yeah, in our day-to-day life, it's 1,000%. Like it's 1,000%. Like in our day-to-day moment to moment life. And like I forbrang everywhere I go, and I suggest everyone do the same. Like whoever you're meeting, just forbrang with them.
What does that mean? What does that mean to forbrang with them?
Yeah,
I just like anytime there's an opportunity to bring up something about Hasidus or Geula or souls or like or deeper consciousness, I bring it up, and people are like enthralled. I can't tell you how many riding lessons I've spent riding around on my horse trying to breathe because I'm so out of shape, and I'm like forbranging with my riding instructor about like the meaning of life in Dira B'Tachtonim and reincarnation. So that like
there's memes like that, you know, the memes where like you're waiting for the moment to turn the conversation spiritual.
Yeah, and but like the whole thing is like I always say like my whole life is one big forbranging, and that's like how it should be.
I feel like, of course, there's even more. I mean, everybody has their role. I shouldn't say that's just probably just my personality and my mission, but it feels like we're supposed to be. I can't believe it. This is the second time in 2 days I'm seeing a spider on my desk while live streaming. And phobia.
She's terrified.
It.
Now it hid. Hey, go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to text my husband.
How big is it? Okay, that's big. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's spider season here. As long as it's not a camel spider.
Okay,
I don't envy you guys living in Israel.
Stop it right there. Gila, go ahead.
No,
not going to manifest that.
Oh, he's not home again.
Oh shoot! It's just you and the spider.
Okay, that's enough.
Push through it. Make peace with
it.
Make peace with it.
NLP. Talk to him telepathically. You could talk to a spider.
It's weird. My daughter's studying NLP, and she worked with this phobia last week. And I thought it was, anyway.
Getting tested.
Back to the actual point. Here's where trusting God. I can't do that, Book Mouse. I cannot do that. I can't. I even have a bug taser here, and I'm scared to use it.
Bug taser.
But anyway, behind that.
That's the best thing ever.
The house is full of bug tasers, actually.
I have one of those for Klipa.
That'd be good.
And it's called my mouth.
Okay, Gila wanted to talk about something else.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the way I viewed COVID is I wrote articles about this, that God gave us this opportunity, talking about fears, to let all the fears come up. When COVID came, were you afraid of losing your parnasa, your money? Were you afraid of getting sick? Like whatever personal fear you were still holding was the chance for it to rise up to the surface. Like I compared it to a chicken soup. When you're making a chicken soup and the scuzz comes up and you get to skim it off. So COVID was that, like these fears come up and you get to skim it off. So it's a constant refinement as we peel back the layers of this onion. And as we get further into the plan, now is the opportunity for me to deal with the specific fear that all the world hates the Jews. So now I'm like, as that layer of scuzz comes up within the truther community, I dealt with it. For example, in the QSI chat, and that I recently separated myself from because I'm not sure that they're legit anymore. But when they would talk about the Holocaust and say, words like holla-hoax, or I would speak up on the chat, and I would do it with a shaking hand and a beating heart because nobody backed me up. I was the lone voice on that chat saying the Jews belong in the land of Israel. They were perpetuating the Palestinian, narrative. And I would say, guys, CNN perpetuated. Remember CNN, who we know is total, controlled by the deep state. They were the ones being sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. How is it that we're in the truth community and we're being sympathetic to that same lie that the Palestinians are oppressed people when we know better? So I was proud of myself. That's Gavura.
Yeah, no, I did that on a chat. You're reminding me. I was on a couple chats where I did that too, and actually, I almost got banned from one just for saying.
Oh, I've been banned everywhere. Suddenly I'm banned everywhere. But it was, I went down with a blaze of glory because I went down speaking the truth of the Jewish people.
You went up, woman. You went up.
I went up.
You ascended out of there. You ascended out of there.
Ascended out. Oh, Ani.
Oh, yeah.
You. I ascended looking back, I was like,
that was a place of klipa, and you ascended out of there.
Ooh, it chills again.
But we have a specific mission, not from the Torah and also from the Rebbe. Like, I believe one of the reasons, maybe the main reason that we're still here, just like, I mean, it's a parallel. What's happening in the Great Awakening is a complete parallel to what's been happening in the Geula process for a long time longer. But, we're waiting way too long. Things are ready for way too long. And there's a reason why. There's something there's something that we are not doing. You can only take it personally, right? That's the only way you can change something, to look at yourself. So what is it that we are not doing besides standing?
I just think I think we're doing it. Like, so much has changed. Like, hello, COVID happened. Everything is coming out and being revealed and exposed. Like, it is happening. We are on our way to that full revelation more actively and more rapidly than we've ever been before. And I'm going to get it just continues to be about activating our power more and more and more. It doesn't mean the power to fight. It means like our power to be godly co-creators in the world.
I don't know if that's all there is to it. I don't think I'm going to agree with that.
That's it that's it in a very general nutshell. That's not the specifics of it at all.
I think it's the gavura piece to say what's what. I think you hit it on the head, that whoever is awakened and aware, we can't just let COVID be a thing of the past. That thing that happened, everyone is trying to move on as if it didn't happen. And I'm like, the more we speak truth to the masses and don't, I don't know, the machnish wissendig, don't pretend like nothing just happened, that, something happened here. And I feel that the more leaders, the more, how I feel, Shifra, that if we have to talk about it. It's like not pretending there's no elephant in the room here. I don't want to go back to talking about the Parsha on Shabbos. I want to say that we're in the middle of an unfolding Geula right here. Let's talk about that and how it relates to the Parsha. Fine. But I don't want to keep it in separate boxes. I don't want to be. I don't want COVID to be taboo, because COVID was the onset of the Geula process, to me at least. I saw Hashem flip the light switch and say, "This is it, guys, game time." And if we are not talking about it, if we are ignoring this massive global military undertaking, then we're not helping to accelerate it. I think that's the piece, that's the gavur piece, to talk about what's taboo, to fearlessly.
That may be the gavur piece, and I think you're completely right that it should be happening. But it just seems there's something beyond that. Like, why did we get to this place? So Ani's seeing COVID as like the beginning of, well, you're both saying it's the beginning of Geula, maybe so. But
no, not the beginning, the acceleration. We already know the beginning came 30 plus years ago. And I said this, Gila, in one of our Farbringans that we did, that like, I feel that we triggered it because of the couple of years before COVID, people had started to get this massive arousal around Geula consciousness again. And we're studying the Devar Malchus in a whole new way. And the Geula gatherings had happened. So it was for like 2 years before COVID, people started hopping on board the Geula consciousness train. Like, wait a second, it's about us. How do we do this? I believe we triggered this acceleration.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. And not to mention that right in the beginning, before anybody had a clue what was going to happen, people were talking about how Corona means crown, and that's the highest level of this.
Yeah.
And I know something else. Oh, COVID-19, 19. What was 19? I forgot all the gematrias now.
It's 19 is the 19 I know is a Miloy of Hashem's name of Yod.
Yeah, there was something else about 19. It soon took a more sour, bitter turn. But I just, I always think, or at least now I chronically go back to thinking about what the Rebbe's vision was. The Rebbe wanted Geula in a certain way. And that way was without anybody dying and without any wars and without any suffering. And, he gave us some prescriptions, and those prescriptions largely weren't followed, even though, to some degree by some people they were. And I feel like, there has to be a way that we can switch that on more. It doesn't mean things aren't going to come out. Doesn't mean there's not going to be, disclosure of everything, of all the darkness and corruption and evil, and what there has to be.
Well, I feel like that's if we follow the prescriptions now, which we've been trying to. This whole new activation.
The Rebbe said
new activation of people happened just in the past 4 years.
It's true that on a level of consciousness, there's an activation. Chassidus is being taught more and more and more.
I'm talking about Geula, like Geula Chassidus, and like what the Rebbe is really saying and meaning about Geula. Yeah.
Right. But the Rebbe also said things like publicize the miracles.
Right.
That he said that, Hashem wanted to make Chizkiyahu mashiach, and the only reason he didn't is because Chizkiyahu did not publicize the miracles enough. So the Rebbe said, tell everybody there's a prophet. Tell the whole world that there's a prophet. Tell the whole world, every man, woman, and child should know about Geula, and that without any exception whatsoever. That's 8 billion people. So that's why I say, I've been heavily emphasizing the consciousness. That's where my heart is. And but that's I think that there is a missing piece, that even if there's a military. Okay, I think I mentioned this maybe before in one of our conversations. I talked to a guy this like jolly, like older, middle-aged American who had a near-death experience. He's a psychic. He comes on a couple shows now and then, just really down to earth. And he was saying that there are white hats. Yes, they have a plan, but they don't know most of what's going to happen because it's not up to them. Because there's a God, the God is part of the picture. And he even said that he gets a lot of like messages from whoever he hears from. He seems the most authentic of anybody that I've met so far who does this sort of thing. But he said that after 2025, 2026 is all dark. He can't see. He can't get any information. So I feel like there's the piece that, what is the role? Why did we have this, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 3,334 years or whatever it was of this, preceded by, exile in Egypt? For what? For what is the mission? It's not only to change our consciousness. It's not only to share with like the people we meet. I don't believe, I'm not saying for any individual, but for all of us in general, what is the leadership here?
You know what's coming to me as you're talking?
What?
We have to burn off this guilt piece that we're not doing enough. I'm sick of it. And there's such a movement in Judaism sometimes when like we have these tragedies. How could we improve ourselves? What mitzvah could I take on? I hated it. I always rebelled against it. It always made me feel icky. I'm like, how about we stop feeling like we're less than, stop feeling like we're getting it wrong, and start just feeling we're locked and loaded for Geula. Just sit back and let it come.
You wouldn't feel the need. You wouldn't then feel the need to stand up against.
I get that, but that's not from a guilt place. That's not, I'm getting something.
This isn't from a guilt place either. This is not from a guilt place. Okay. From, I'm sick of the whole thing. And I think there's a role. If I think that as long
just do what the inspiration that comes to hand that minute, that day, follow that impulse. But from a place
maybe people are so wimpy because they're not taking leadership. Maybe they're so wimpy because they feel like victims instead of bringing what they have to.
We've been trained. The Kabbalah trained us to be victims. How many Holocaust commemorations?
I'm not blaming us. I just keep wondering what the heck is going on here.
No, so once we stop thinking we're doing something wrong, we're missing something, we're not getting it. How about we're getting it right for the first time and we're locked and loaded for Geula and do every day what your neshama calls you to do. If it's posting a meme, if it's getting on a chat with you guys, whatever that day brings, it's icing on the cake. It's polishing the buttons. I think the Rebbe said that. We are literally
we're done polishing the buttons.
We're done. Like we're just sitting. We're just
sitting here. You know what?
That's why when I watch the Q plan and I follow the different things that come in, I can't think of any solid examples now, but when China and Taiwan and certain details, I'm like, we are on cruise control now, people. The vehicle is driving itself.
Yes, people are still dying. People are
still okay. We have to take away the fear of dying. The fear of dying is what got us into this mess. Let them die. That's their soul's choice. There's people going to be here on this plane for Geula, or they're going to be watching from one dimension away from us. The fear of death, we got to burn that thing off, because that's how they scare the people. I'm done with fear of death. I mean, maybe not 100%, but I'm like, if I'm meant to watch it from here, fine. If I'm meant to watch it from there, fine.
Okay, so
They
we have
got us. The worst fear is fear of death.
Yeah, I think that I don't know.
You can't let that one go. Spiders and death.
Yeah,
Death by spider.
Two of my issues. Yeah, two of my biggest issues. Yeah, I'm not saying that we should have any more guilt, but I think things are going very slowly, and I'm not content with just. I mean, I'm working on being content also. That you can be in two places at once, and I think you have to be.
Right.
Actually, to be in consciousness, I think we have to be peaceful and content as much as possible, blissful and joyful and miraculous as much as possible. And at the same time, what the heck is our role, and why are so many of us hiding out or complying or, disconnecting, which I know are some of the things that bother you. Why is that happening? And I'm proposing that it might be happening because we're not taking leadership.
Well, I'll tell you, it goes along with that. My concept of let whatever fear comes, skim to the top. Like many people who are public leaders will say the taboo stuff in private and then not in public. So that's they're afraid of losing their reputation, of their following. That's the specific fear that they're coming to deal with right now, is the fear of public opinion. So everybody is having this opportunity to burn out the fear, to burn off the fears. So that's a huge one. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't coming forward to say, guys, we're in the middle of something huge. And COVID was government overreach. That they're afraid of looking crazy. And I don't think we are. I love looking crazy.
I might be a little afraid of looking crazy.
Are you?
I don't know, like in certain groups, in certain places where I'm personal, maybe. I'm just thinking about it.
How about you, Anna? Are you afraid of looking crazy?
Not anymore. I've done enough stuff that looks crazy, and eventually reality catches up with you. So I've learned it's not worth it to stifle your soul because you're afraid of what other people's klippas are going to think about you.
Ooh, chills again. That's so good.
So Ani, dissecting and healing the aspects of the psyche, Gila standing up against lies and false compliance, and me, I'm still on I really believe that there's something that it doesn't matter what the white hats do. If we don't do what we have to do.
Oh, that's 1,000% true. That's 1,000% true. Because I mean, it's the plugging into the reality, the godly reality of this world. Because in the end, any white hats in this world are getting their highest through us.
Right.
We are the ones drawing in reality through our God consciousness, our alignment, our avoda, our everything we do to have intimacy with God draws that reality into the world, and it gives them their ability to do whatever they're doing. So as Shifra is saying, it's us being in spiritual leadership.
I have a great
really
word.
Does.
We're the undergirding. I just read that somewhere. We undergird the white hats. We are the ones that we're the steel framework. And they always say what's holding up the EBS is the percentage of awakened souls. So when you say for bringing everywhere you go, you're trying to spread the awakening,
the consciousness.
This is the great awakening, and Hashem wants to bring along. It's a grace period. Hashem wants to bring along every soul, but the soul won't be able to tolerate an event like the EBS unless it heard from one of someone who agreed to awaken first. They have to hear the conversation. That's why it's imperative that we speak and speak and speak, because it won't be terrifying for them. We open their consciousness within the conversation. It's all about the conversation right now.
As we're doing here.
And that's the thing is some people you really, like, if you try to talk about the quote unquote political stuff, which we know is just spiritual reality, all that stuff, like they are going to clamp down. So then you start with the consciousness, you start with the chassidus, the godliness, the healing. Any movement of the soul's energy is going to put a precedent in the express personality and the conscious mind that will help them receive it. All of the revelations, essentially. So that was so funny. When you said we're the undergirding, when you said we're the undergirding, one half of my brain was like, oh yes, the steel framework, and the other half was like, are we the Spanx? Does that mean we're the Spanx of the white hats?
I love that. We're the Spanx of the white hats. We keep it all together.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Ani, do you believe we passed the phase that where everything the Rebbe said about what we have to do applies?
No, but people got so stuck on the very, very almost like cardboard cutout 2-dimensional fulfilling of those instructions, and that it did what it needed to do, and then it became ineffective because we need the next phases, which is about the multidimensional consciousness. So we still need all of the above, but if we're doing it from the approach of like kind of an infantile, like fairy tale mind of relating to things of like, oh, I'm just gonna be good and look at what I'm doing and I'm so good. Like that's in the end a whole bunch of like unrectified nefesh Bahamas, like yeshus. That's the opposite of where we need to be going. We need to be okay growing up intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. That's literally what Geula is. I was reading from Rabbi Yehoshaphat Oliver's book, To Perfect the World, which is all of the Rebbe's sichas and directives about affecting the nations spiritually. And one of the things the Rebbe said is that God wants a world full of people with fully developed intellects, with fully developed seichel, intellect, chachma bina das, processing systems. And we need to have a world full of inhabitants with fully developed intellects, which we know are multidimensional processing machines.
Conscious.
And when I hear you say that, can I interrupt you for a second? That to me translate in Q Talk is to get rid of the MK Ultra programming we've been brainwashed, and that to me, when you develop your intellect, you jump out of the programming. That's how I translate what you're saying. Does that make sense to you? Yeah.
And a fully developed intellect also means the integration with the heart, the emotions, the bodies, the whole neural network, the whole spiritual network, all of the above.
And the light of Hasidus, which is God's consciousness.
Exactly.
I mean, that's. I think I want to just put this question back on the table for you guys. Like, what is people talk about ascension and consciousness, and there's some very conscious people that I think all of us like to learn from. You know, we all have our favorite that aren't Torah based, that aren't Jewish. So what is the point? Why have an Israel? First of all, what's the point of Israel, the land of Israel? What's the point of the people of Israel? It's not just to say no. It's not just to be conscious, because anybody can do that. That's a general thing.
Well, it has to be anchored in Torah and mitzvahs. When we bring that consciousness and plug it into Torah and mitzvahs, we have a shlemus.
Also, going back to the Evan Hashasiyah, we need an actual physical place for the Geula to happen. And I think that foundation stone, Hashem's energy and presence, will be the most concentrated over there. And you say, why do we need an Israel? Because we need a place for it to go down, showdown. Yeah.
I mean, we do need a temple. Why do we need a temple? That's
for God's presence to be most
because God decided that's why.
That's it though.
So again, like, is there some piece that, if you look at this whole puzzle, I mean, we each have our preferences, and we all overlap on each other. So it's not like we don't relate to, each of us to the other ones. But if you look at the whole thing like a puzzle, like a whole super organism, like all of humanity, every generation, maybe even all of the galaxy, it doesn't matter. Stick with humanity for ease of visualization. But if you look at all of humanity over all of time as a structure that's being built, or as a human being, like Adam, which the world, all of creation is called Adam. It is called man. It's like one super man. So what is the specific role of those who carry the Torah? And what is the specific role of those in pushing something into the system, offering something into the system? Or
call on me. I want to say. Can I say?
Gila, did you raise your hand? I didn't see your hand. We just talked out of turn.
Mora. So the Am Kashay Oref that you said, we are stubborn. Why? What is the stubbornness? We took the Torah from Hashem's hand 3,300 134 years ago, and we are stubborn about it. We haven't dropped it. We say, how can we keep it better? What other layers of the Torah can we try to embody, and physical acts of service can we try to do? That's where we transform the stubbornness into stubbornness for good, l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven.
Yeah.
So we hold steady this light for this time. We held it for the sake of humanity, for all of humanity to draw from this light. We held the light. And that's why they come for us. That's why even in the truther community, they're still coming for us, because they know their demise is this light of Torah.
So how do you see the light of Torah? I know that's a very broad question, but when you say that, what are you thinking? What are you feeling like?
When I do any mitzvah, this is why I'm a closet Chabadnik, because I understand that it's through acting like a Jewish person, being different from dressing differently, lighting candles for Shabbos. When you commune with God and you show yourself to do these physical acts, that God wants a physical partner in creation through this book, through the things he asked us to do in this book. It's not just read the book and feel beautiful emotions. No, it's do X, Y, and Z. Right. And the people still trying to figure out what the X, Y, and Z are, those are the people, you embody the light, embodying the light through the physical action. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. And I think the truth is that this question is going to continue to be answered experientially as we evolve. Like we don't even begin to know yet what Torah really is. We've been doing it the way we've needed to do it throughout the Gullus experience, and now stepping into the Geula, but like we haven't even begun. And it's going to be an ever evolving question and answer that we're going to live out forever.
7 cycles of 7,000 and then 50,000 Yovlos. I read in a footnote from the Rebbe. But so Gila, you're saying that's what will illuminate not only other people, that's what will illuminate us.
Absolutely, is not dropping the ball at this point. We have carried the Torah through every persecution. We haven't lost it, people. It's an amazing feat that we've accomplished to care and to hand it back to Hashem. We did our best. We kept it the best we can. Now turn it into something magical. Take the Torah from us. We held it for you. When you come back down, it's a gift we're giving back to you. Turn it into something 5-dimensional. Turn it into something. What do you call it? The mashiach of Torah, the Torah of mashiach.
Yeah, right. Torah of mashiach. Torah chadash.
We kept the 3D version. We did our best with it.
Yeah.
In a state of total, amnesia. We did our best with it. Nasev and Nishma. We did our best.
So in standing up, so I agree, in standing up to do our job, whatever it is, and to share in our own way, that's what's going to bring the strength of that, spiritual God warrior to each of us and to the people that we can influence. That I think Mio is asking, by the way, what is Geula? So don't want that to get mixed, but and it's spelled Geula in English, although it's actually a Hebrew word. I just think that there's this link to our own, we're Purifying, right? So this is just what keeps coming to me as we're discussing, that the missing link to our own power and our own willingness to stand up, as you keep talking about, Gila, and our own internal consciousness, our expanded consciousness, like you keep talking about, Ani. I do too. I think it's the decision that we are here to be that light, to represent God and the Torah for all humanity, as you said so powerfully, Gila, that we've carried it through thick and thin, through every possible opposition, persecution, exile, and it's proven itself, and we've proven ourselves. But now at this, like the end of days, the beginning of the new times, the era of heaven on earth, we're in a general sense, and it's only from trauma. It's only from trauma and confusion. It's definitely not our fault. But just looking at the picture, we're sitting here and we are less than, I think, what we're destined to be. And I think that comes out in the sharing, also in the personal work, but it comes out so much in the sharing, in the Purifying, in the connecting, in the asking the questions, in standing up, like, certainly Gila, you've been doing that big time, and Ani's been doing that too. I mean, this is to stand up and
you.
Okay, to stand up and to speak an aspect of truth that isn't getting spoken so much elsewhere, and everybody's here to do that. But here, our particular thing is we do represent God's blueprint in the Torah that we did carry for all of humanity, and humanity's finally, many of them, ready to hear it, seeking it, even if they don't know what they're seeking. Anyway,
Right.
so I think it's super important for us to, even if it's just whatever it is, like, even if it's just in that flow, I feel like I have to be more proactive, but that's my thing. Maybe clearly that's part of my mission, and it's always been. But
Yeah.
whatever it is, to know I am a leader. I am a leader and I work for God.
Yes.
And even white hats, God bless them. I adore President Trump. I genuinely love him. Genuinely.
Me too.
And he's a melech, he's a king in his own, he is.
100%.
And he knows who he works for also, which is part of being.
He's working for the Rebbe.
Yeah.
I think he's working for the Rebbe.
But the white hats, they're only servants. They're only partners. They're pieces of the puzzle. God, it's God. That's what we have to open up to, and God's perspective. It's not from the false, mixed up.
Right.
You're picking up, Gila, or that you're picking up Ani. They're all different ways to mix up what a relationship with God really is, to confuse it, to distort it so many
Well,
different
where
ways.
did Ivanka go the night before the election in 2016? Do you guys remember where Ivanka
like to pray? Yes.
No.
Oh, hell.
The Rebbe is heavily involved in this whole DJT. Heavily.
No, I don't.
Wait, the number of significant things that happened on significant Chabad days is like
Also
crazy.
specifically through
But that's for another.
Yeah.
My phone is about to die, so I want to say
Okay,
proactively say seal dies.
I got to bounce also. This is great, you guys.
Just before you go, one of you define Geula for Mio. Who's going to do it? And then we'll say bye. Gila.
I just say redemption. It's just the process of God, of the reveal of God in the world.
The reveal of God in the world and in each of us.
The big reveal of God in the world, and everything.
The end to evil, the end to separation, the end to poverty, suffering, war, death, the end to all of those things, and the beginning of the world that we all know it should be like.
But 1,000 years of peace.
It's going to be a lot more than 1,000 years at this point. We've earned version A. We're going the high road, obviously.
Yeah.
I am your retribution. That was, it's taking a little long. I'm back to that again. It's taking a lot long, even though all the explanations, yada, yada, but still. Okay. Ani left. I guess we'll go to, thank you. Thanks, Gila.
I gotta tell you one thing. I heard this from Julie Green. She's a prophet. She said, all God needs is one day. So don't feel discouraged that it's taken so long. All God needs is one day to change everything.
Okay, and that's true. That is
I love
true.
that. I love it. All right, Shif, I gotta run also.
Okay, take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Like,
guys.
share, do all that stuff. Okay.